Thank you, Madam President. We all know that foreclosure is a significant issue in the state. In fact, Republicans represent many of the most distressed areas. Foreclosure crisis affected everyone. Housing values have plummeted in many places. Property taxes are down. Some go uncollected. Unemployment rates still hover around 10%, having come down from mid-12s. But the housing bubble collapse has affected everybody in some way, and we must find a resolution to this. Yet, the bills to address this issue were so poorly crafted that even the Democrat majority committees in both houses refused to hear the bills. So the normal legislative process was hijacked. The bills were sent to a contrived conference committee. Senator Blakesley, our conferee, stated his commitment to finding a solution, and as is starting to become the norm rather than the exception, was excluded from the closed-door private discussions on the language. And we start to wonder if perhaps that's because what we see before us today is so ugly. There was also a small select group of representatives of the signatories to the settlement that have been meeting with the Democrat staff of the Mortgage Conference Committee and shaping language, but unfortunately, legislative leadership decided to end these negotiations abruptly and bring the measures to the floor. So I rise in opposition not because I want to. I think my colleagues have clearly articulated that we're this close to coming with real meaningful reform. But I think all of us would agree, if we think we're doing reform, we feel good about it, but if the end result is the opposite of what we expected to accomplish, wouldn't we feel badly about that? And I think that's where we are. We have a letter from, and I'm sure you received it too, 9 of the stakeholder groups that say, among other things, they request the opportunity to continue our good faith negotiating. They talk about the prematurely suspending the discussions. They worry that the liability exposure contained in these measures is substantial and fails to focus on truly injured borrowers, that it will encourage frivolous litigation. We have so many opportunities to do good up here. This is something that if you create the uncertainty, the cost will be borne, unfortunately, on the new borrowers. So what happens to those that want to go out, those kids that have been scraping for a down payment to make on a house, and because the cost will be passed on if there's frivolous nature, if there's uncertainty in the mortgage market, then they can't get the loans that we want them to have, because that's part of what gets us out of this death spiral that we're in the housing market. So we have to be responsible in crafting something. We are 95% there. We have 2 months left in the legislative session. Let's vote this down today, go back to the table, and get it fixed right. So we not only have the Republicans on board, we have the constituents we represent, we have the industry groups that have been working in good faith through all these hours of testimony and committee that's been testified before. We have the opportunity to do good, but voting yes on this today will do the opposite of what we want. I ask for your no vote.